Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for this quick presentation of Twinmotion. My name is Martin, I'm product manager on the software. Today I'm going to be presenting you first what is Twinmotion, what it is used for. I will also make a live demo of the product. Then I will presenting you all the major features that we introduce with our latest patch, Twinmotion V2. And then at the end, I will take time to answer all of your questions. So if you have some questions during the presentation, just keep them in mind and I will answer all of them at the end of the presentation. So first off, what is Twinmotion? Twinmotion is a 3D real-time visualization software dedicated to architecture built on top of the Unreal Engine. If you don't know what the Unreal is, it's a real-time engine that drives a lot of video games, but it is also used a lot inside the industry for the automobile sector, the industry in general. And now we use the Unreal Engine to drive Twinmotion, to drive this professional software. And when I'm saying real time, it's really real time. Here is a quick comparison of an image generated with a standard rendering software, a ray tracing software. It took around 1 hour to render at this quality. And it is compared to an image, actually it was not generated with Twinmotion. It was the quality I had inside the viewport while I was working on the software. Second example, the same idea. The first image, same software, ray tracing software, took about 1 hour and a half on a 2K resolution. And then in Twinmotion, it was again not a render, it was the quality I had while I was working in my viewport on my 4K monitor. So it's a completely new way to approach render. You are not anymore just pressing the render button and go back to the coffee machine or went outside for lunch and come back to your desk and see that your render is not that great. You have to tweak your lighting, change the reflection of the materials, make modification, and then you have to press back the render button again and wait hours often. And this is really a new approach, as I said, of the rendering. Now everything can be done in real time. You have immediately this feedback on your screen when you are adding a light, when you are changing the reflection of a material. And let's say you have sent an image to your client. He just wants a few modifications. In just a few minutes, you can make those modifications and send him the new image. So as I said, it's a way to speed up your current workflow. And creating a software that creates a render really quickly was not the main goal behind Twinmotion. The main goal was to create a software simple and easy to use with a friendly user UI. So we really wanted to step away from the tons of settings that you have on all the other rendering software, where often actually you just tweak one value and the render time double, triple, and sometimes you don't even know why. So with Twinmotion, we decided to create this really simple UI with a lot of icons. So in a blink of an eye, you can see where you are, what you are doing. And this is really the major thing behind Twinmotion. Create something that like plug and play. You have the software, you can right away try to work with it. You don't have to spend hours of learning, of tutorial, of formation. And adding to that, we have also developed what we call the add-in. The add-in allows a direct link between the CAD software and the visualization software. In other words, if you are in Revit or in ArchiCAD, you have installed those add-ins. In just one click, you can synchronize your project with Twinmotion and begin to visualize it in real time right away. It didn't go to the cloud, it's local. And then once you are in Twinmotion, in just one other click, you can switch to VR. So as I said, another way to show you that it's a completely new way to approach render. You are you don't have anymore to have a dedicated people to create a VR experience. Usually in big firm you have some people that have a gaming skill with the gaming engine, because to make a VR package it's the only way. Now using Twinmotion it can be done in only 2 clicks. So now let's switch to the live presentation. So here I am in Twinmotion in real time, and it's just after this synchronization I was talking to you. During this synchronization we do a few things. We first import all the geometry, all the 3D, all the data of the project you have inside Revit or ArchiCAD, but we also do a few things automatically. For example, in the CAD software you have a native library of materials, objects, characters, cars, and we automatically replace those assets by Twinmotion assets. For example, the materials inside the CAD software is just a basic texture. And yeah, it's actually a basic low definition texture. With this synchronization, we automatically replace those textures by Twinmotion physically correct materials. We do the same with the characters, the cars, and the vegetation. In the CAD software, the vegetation is usually a simple billboard with the shape of a tree. And during this synchronization, we automatically replace those billboards by Twinmotion trees, which are affected by the weather and the seasons. Talking about that, let's jump into the Nature tab, Weather. So here we have 2 main sliders. The first one is controlling the cloud coverage, as you can tell by the small icon that you can see with the small clouds. So if you start dragging the slider here, cloud will slowly appear, and at some point it will rain, which will affect all the materials of the project automatically. There is nothing to do for that. The second slider here is controlling the seasons. So we start at the summer, all the trees are green. We are approaching fall. Now the leaves start to get reddish and start to fall from trees. And finally, winter is coming. As you can see also here, we have an automatic occlusion system that prevents particles from going in, so it will never rain or snow inside the project, of course. And also the snow, as you can see here, can accumulate on the geometry, but it won't stick to a vertical surface, only horizontal surfaces. So let's switch back to our sunny summer day. So while all the tree that you can see on the background here has been automatically replaced during this synchronization I was talking to you, we can of course add tree directly from Twinmotion library. So here if I jump into the Nature folder, trees, I can just simply drag a tree from the library to the viewport. I can also create a multi-selection. And you just click on the first tree, hold the Control key, and select this one. And now, at each time I will click inside the viewport, Twinmotion will randomly select one tree from my selection and add it to the project. And because it's in the tree folder, it will take a random rotation and a random scale, so you won't see the repetition. To add vegetation even more quickly, we also have a vegetation tool. I will come back to the Nature tab, Vegetation. Here I will just select those 3 trees. I will use my brush tool now to paint those trees directly inside my project. So normally here is supposed to be a small area of water, a small pond. So I will open back my library, come to the material section, I will scroll down to the water material, and here I will just simply drag a material from the library to the viewport. This material I have a few options. For example, I can change the opacity of my material or the reflection. Now let's just work a bit on the edge of the small pond. So I come back to the vegetation section, rocks. Here I can start to drag a few rocks directly next to my water, like this. Maybe a few plants as well, so I will open back now the bush section. Here in the search tab I can tap Lotus, and here let's just add a few lotus plants to the project. Maybe a few one with some flowers as well. So now that's down, the last thing that I want to do is inside the character section, animals, I will just drag the butterfly. So this image begins to look great, so maybe it's time to export an image. I will open the Media tab, Image. Here I will click on the plus. This will create a new image, a new point of view actually. I can of course adjust a bit my point of view. So for example, I can be more focused on my project, refresh my point of view. And now if I come right away to the export section, I will select the image 02, the image we just created. I will click on the start export. I will just send this to my desktop. It will by default export this image on a 2K resolution, but with Twinmotion we can go up to 9K. And here is the image we just generated together. And it took just a few seconds to render, so you can see how you can quickly generate image, video, panorama using Twinmotion. And directly you can send this to your client, you can share your work really quickly with Twinmotion. So back to Twinmotion, let's just now quit the media mode. And one thing that I want to show you as well is what we call the beam motion mode. You can find it here. It's basically a full screen mode where you can enable the physics. So here I'm currently walking on the ground. And it's a really an immersive way to discover the project, to walk inside the project, for example, if you are standing next to your client, you can really immerse himself into his project once it will be built. And if you add a VR headset plugged in your computer, it's just a one click to switch to VR. So now let's switch to the drone view and take some altitude. So as you can see, it's a pretty large project. It's an international airport. So if I just open the statistic tab on the right here, you can see that we are at 0.2 billion polygons. So as I tell you, it's a really large project. So at any moment in Twinmotion, we can change the time of day. So here we can visualize the project up at noon or at sunset. Right now the space feels a bit empty, but maybe it's time to add some characters then. So we'll open back my characters library and went into the human section. Here we have a complete library of 3D animated characters. I can drag, for example, fabrics, the same as I did for the trees. It's just a basic drag and drop from the library to the viewport. And once my character is inside the viewport, I have a few options. For example, I can change the color preset. So if I drag him multiple times, I won't see the repetition of his clothes. I can change the pose. Maybe he is in idle state, maybe he's lying on the ground, or maybe he's even dancing. And maybe he's doing this dance, or maybe he's doing the Gangnam Style dance. I can even switch to the special section and check, for example, if my project is PRM ready. By drag and dropping one character at a time like this, it could take some time to populate the whole project. This is also why we have a group section. In the group section, if I select, for example, this group of 3 characters, at each time I will click on the viewport, this will randomly add characters directly from Twinmotion library. And it will take from the whole folder of the character, so you won't see any repetition. But to add animation even more quickly, we also develop a path system. To find the path system, I will switch to the urban section, character path. Here I will simply use my pen to create a path, to create a spline actually. And once I release my tool, people will automatically start walking on my path. When we designed Twinmotion, our main goal was to create a simple tool with a really friendly user UI. So this UI consists of 3 major panels. The first one on the left, it's the library of the software that is native of the software, of course. Here you will find materials, vegetation, characters. We also have a user library that allow you to import your own model, create your own material, and save them directly inside Twinmotion library, so you will have access to them to every future project. The second major panel is the one at the bottom of the screen, is what we call the dock. The dock is basically where you will have all the options, the tools, and the settings. For example, here my path of characters is still selected, so I have the option regarding this path. I can change, for example, the ethnicity. If I have a project in Asia, I can choose to have more Asian people. I can change the activity. If, for example, here, if I switch to travel, people will more likely have some luggage with them. I can even change the width or the density. Finally, the last panel is the one on the right, is what we call the scene graph, the scene manager. It's basically a layer system similar to Photoshop, where you can create folder, you can we also keep the organization you have set up inside your modeling software. This is saved during the import, but here you can reorganize, you can create different folder and put your object inside your folder. So for example, here for this demo, I've already set up a folder with a few more people. Let's just unhide it. So as you can see, we use this path system to animate a few things inside Twinmotion, like this plane taking off, this one is parking, all the characters walking inside the project. But we can also create, animate vehicles. So we'll come back to the urban section. Now I'll switch to the vehicle path. Same as I did with the character, here I will just create a spline really quickly. Once I release my tool, car will start spawning on my path. And here now I have the option regarding this specific path, like the lane count, if the road is two-sided, the lane offset, the density, or even the speed of the cars. And at any moment, of course, we can switch from day to night. And when the sun comes down, the lights automatically lights up. For the cars, as you can see here, for the street light, for the interior of the project also, but also for the context. Because we used to know that architects usually don't have time or don't take time to work on the surroundings. They are usually just working on the project itself. So in the urban section, you will find a different background that you can switch from one to another. You can even change the rotation, so it will match better the perspective of your project. And it's just a tool to give a nice skyline behind your project. At the end, with Twinmotion, we can export 4 different types of media. We can export images, we already saw that. We can also export panorama, up to 9K resolution. Panorama that you can chain between each other and export them to our online platform that is called TwinLinker, where, as I said, we can chain panorama, create that it gives you a web link that you can share to whoever you want, and you can watch this link on your tablet, on your smartphone. So it's a really handy tool to share your work. We can also export video and 360 video and even 360 3D video. And we finally have what we call the BeamMotion. The BeamMotion is a standalone exe file. As I said, it's standalone. It doesn't require Twinmotion. It's basically what you can send to your client, so he can really immerse himself into his project. So that's it for this second part, the presentation of the live presentation of Twinmotion. So now I will switch to what's new inside the V2 update. So with this V2 update that we launch just before the Christmas holiday, actually, our main goal was really to make some kind of community update. For this update, every feature that we introduced was much requested features by the community. So we take feedback from our social media, Facebook, Twitter, from our forum, from our support platform, for the comment on our YouTube channel. And we take all those feedback to consideration to develop all the new feature that we wanted to introduce. So for this new feature, for example, the first one on the list, I will make some back and forth between the slide and Twinmotion so I can show you what I'm talking about. So the first thing that was the most requested was the environment option. So now inside the Nature tab, weather, now you have a settings button here that gives you tons of settings that weren't able before. Like for example, now you have the sun intensity, you have the ambient lighting. So if the ambient lighting is a basic blue cube map that illuminates the whole scene, but you can change the ambient cube map. You can reduce it to zero, or you can even raise it. We have the white balance that allow you to make your image a bit warmer or a bit colder. We have the real-time GI that calculates the bounce of the light in real time, and a few other options. Next in line, we have the particle system. The particle system, if I switch back to Twinmotion, the particle system, you can find them inside. You can find them inside the library, of course, furniture, particles. So here we have added a complete set of particles, for example, a small fire for a chimney, some waterfall, some shower water, some fog bank. So for example here, if I just drag a few fog bank, if I switch back to a crappy day, as you can see, in just a few clicks, I can really try a different approach, a different view of my project. So Twinmotion can be really used as a prototyping tool. So to create an image, a rainy image with some fog in other rendering software, it could take hours and hours. And you don't want to lose time. So in Twinmotion, you don't lose time because it just takes me a few minutes to try this. Or maybe it's great, maybe it's not, but I didn't lose 1 hour to create this. It took me just a few seconds. So as I said, it's really a prototyping tool. Next thing we have created is the overdraw render option. So back to Twinmotion, I will switch to the interior. So to show you the overdraw, I first have to explain you how the reflection works inside Twinmotion. So let's first boost a bit the reflection and create a new image. So inside all the real-time application like Twinmotion, how the reflection works is it reflects only the object present inside the viewport. So for example, if you are looking at the blue screen here, it's present inside the reflection. But if I start to look down, my blue screen will disappear from my reflection because the information of the 3D, the information of the geometry is not present anymore. So for example here, if I start by exporting this image without the overdraw, I will send this again to my desktop. And now if I click on the more here, and if I put the overdraw at 100% and I export back the image. So here I have the first image without the overdraw. So you can see here, because the information of the geometry is not present at the top of the screen, here it is replaced just by a basic blue cube map. And with the overdraw at 100%, this is what it looks like. We calculate extra pixel at the top, at the bottom, on the left, on the right. We put all this information inside the reflection, and then we crop the image at the resolution you have set up. So it's really just a way to enhance the reflection inside Twinmotion. Then what next? We have made a huge pass on the save. We have created an autosave that you can set up in the preference panel. That basically save at a different interval of time. We also have now an incremental save that save under another name. We have the batch export that allow you to export all your media at once, so you can just select all your image, your video, your panorama, in just one click of a button. It will export everything together. We are now compatible with Atlantis 6.5, so if you are in Atlantis, you can export the .tma file, and that you can now import inside Twinmotion. Next thing is the material apply mode. So to show you this, it's a really handy function. I will just switch back to Twinmotion. So here I've opened up another project. It's a project created inside ArchiCAD. It's the Venezuela library. And so what is the material apply mode? It's a new function that allows you to replace a previous material by a new one. For example, here this white panel is actually a glass panel, but it's a separate, each piece of glass is a separate object. In the previous version of Twinmotion, by default, we were inside what we called the apply to object, and it was actually the only option we had. Meaning that when you are dragging material from the library to the viewport, it will apply this material only on this specific object. So if I had to replace all the material on all my glass panel, it could take some time. This is why we have created a new function that we call the replace materials. Now if I drag this material from the library to this material here, it will completely replace my white material by this new one. As simple as that. But with the use of Twinmotion, with the first feedback of the community, we saw that it was a much needed feature. This is why we introduced it in the V2 patch. Next, what we also added a lot of plants just to enhance the library of items. So we have now some interior plants that you can add to all of your projects. So it just to show you that we keep working on the software, we keep enhancing the library, we keep working on them. We also saw how you can quickly add a person on a wheelchair, but you can even create a person on a wheelchair that is moving. So to do so, I will come back to the urban section, custom path. Here, same as I did with my characters, I will just create my spline. Let's just make it go outside. So by default, when you create a custom path, it puts a white box, but you can put whatever object you want. You can put a sliding door, for example. In my case, I will just switch to the character section, human. Here I will, before I start the human, let's just see the option I have. For example, I have the speed. So let's just, for example, change the speed, change the delay at the start. And now I will simply drag my characters inside my box here, and I will just switch to the disable animation. And in just a few clicks, I've created these characters using a wheelchair and animated inside my project. Next, what we have, next page, we have developed, we're working hard on the VR actually. Now we are compatible with both the headset and the controller, so you can use the controller to teleport yourself inside your project. And for VR, we are compatible with the Vive, the Oculus, the HP1, and actually all the headsets that use TeamVR. We now also have the physics in editor. It's just when working with Twinmotion, if you press the M shortcut, it will put you on the ground, and it's a handy tool, especially when you are trying to place camera at the height of a human eye. So this is just why we have introduced this function. We now have the two-sided option on materials. We have the GI on Mac. It was something that we worked hard to make the Mac version and the PC version exactly the same. So now the GI is available on Mac. We have the statistic panel that I've shown you earlier. And we have made a lot of optimization regarding, for example, the 360 degree optimization, the 360 export. So for the panorama and the 360 video, it's now up to 2 to 4 times more faster to create those outputs. And we have also made a lot of optimization regarding the sky in general. So this ends this presentation. So I will just finish by showing you that I will just put this on the background. It's the trailer of the V2 update, and I will start answering your question. If you had some, please now feel free to ask them in the chat panel. I will stick here for a few minutes just to take time to answer all of your questions. If there is some. If there is none, the live will be the presentation is available on the YouTube channel if you want to watch it back. And I can also encourage you to join us on our user group, on your Facebook user group. There is a great community there that's help each other, that has questions, that there is an emulsion around that is really interesting. So you could just come take a look. And if there is no question, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. If in the future you have any question, as I said, you can just come say hello to the Facebook group, and we'll be pleased to answer all of your questions. So thanks everyone for attending this presentation, and I'll see you in the next one.